There exists a kind of mind so sharp, so disciplined, so merciless in its clarity that it freezes entire rooms without ever needing to raise its voice. And this kind of mind does not rely on noise, on arguments, on desperate displays of authority, but on something far more dangerous, something that makes ambition shrink, deceit hesitate, flattery collapse, and rebellion wither before it even begins, because this kind of mind cannot be manipulated, cannot be swayed by praise, cannot be softened by guilt, cannot be weakened by loneliness. And it is this kind of mind that Machiavelli understood was a foundation of true, lasting, and invisible power, a mind not created for spectacle, not built for vanity, but engineered for one purpose only: control. This is what we will call the ruthless mind, not ruthless in the sense of cruelty, but ruthless in the sense of immunity, immune to emotional blackmail, immune to distraction, immune to the endless noise that enslaves ordinary people. And once you begin to build this kind of mind, once you sharpen it to the point where it cuts through illusion like glass, you'll no longer need to command obedience, because people will offer it. You will no longer need to prove yourself, because people will second guess themselves in your presence. And you will no longer need to fight, because hesitation will already be doing the work for you. But how is such a mind built? And what makes it so unshakable, so intimidating, so unapproachable to manipulation? The answer lies not in scattered motivation or shallow affirmations, but in a ruthless foundation, one layer at a time, beginning with absolute clarity of purpose, followed by mastery over emotion, forensic observation of weakness in others, rejection of guilt as a leash, and the cold, steel-centered motto, I am already alone. Part 1. The foundation of clarity. Most people drift through life as if they are passengers on a ship with no destination, tossed from one mood to another, shifting their values when praised, bending their goals when threatened, turning away from ambition the moment guilt is pressed against them. And because their purpose is not fixed, because their clarity is blurred by emotion, they are easy to sway, easy to distract, easy to manipulate. But the ruthless mind has no such weakness, because it begins with a brutal interrogation of the self. An interrogation that strips away illusions and forces the truth into the open. Ask yourself, not softly, not politely, but with the intensity of a hammer striking iron, what do I truly want beyond comfort, beyond vanity, beyond the applause of others? Who must I become to achieve it? And what am I willing to lose along the way? Most people never dare to answer this honestly, because the answers are too heavy, too demanding, too merciless. But the ruthless mind knows that without this interrogation, without this unshakable clarity, every other layer of strength will crumble at the first sign of temptation. Once this clarity is carved into your mind, hesitation dies. The endless chatter of opinions fades into irrelevance. The compulsion to explain disappears, and every distraction becomes not entertainment but the enemy. Because the ruthless mind knows that every second spent chasing noise is a second stolen from the purpose. And the man or woman who wastes time on explanations, on validation, on guilt, is a man or woman who cannot be feared, because they have already revealed their weakness. They need approval. Purpose becomes armor. Distraction becomes poison. And emotion becomes a servant instead of a master. While ordinary people drift, you drive. And that difference, that terrifying contrast, is what begins to unsettle the room when you enter it. Part 2. Emotional control as a weapon. Understand this. People do not fear your joy, your anger, or even your pain. What terrifies them is when they cannot read you, when your emotions are disciplined into silence, when your face is blank as a mirror and reflects only what you choose to reflect. Because if you flinch at insult, if you smirk at praise, if you stutter under pressure, you have already handed others a map to control you. But the ruthless mind never give that map away. Machiavelli's vision of power was not an endless display of emotion, but the opposite, a stillness that unnerves, a silence that manipulates without words. And the ruthless mind learns to control its emotional output with military precision. Praise is met with silence. Insult is met with calm. Attack is met with nothing at all, because the moment you spend your emotional currency, you weaken your position, and the ruthless mind spends nothing it does not choose. This does not mean numbness. It does not mean lifelessness. It means your emotions are trained soldiers, not reckless invaders. And when you choose to rage, to laugh, to grieve, you do so on your own terms, never when provoked, never when demanded, never when someone else seeks to pull from you. And this is what unsettles people most. Because when manipulation fails, when reaction cannot be forced, people shrink, they doubt, they hesitate. And in that hesitation lies your dominance. Part 3. The Predator's Observation. Machiavelli understood something most men overlook. That true power does not lie in endless force, but in endless observation, in the ability to dissect people like a surgeon dissects flesh, to see not only what they say, but what they avoid saying, to listen not for the answers, but for the cracks in their speech, the word they repeat too often, the silence they dodge, the name they defend with too much energy, the validation they crave without admitting it. And from these fragments, the ruthless mind construct a map of weakness. Every man has seams, every woman has cracks, and once you see them, once you recognize the hunger they hide, the fear they mask, the respect they desperately want, you do not expose it, you do not announce it, you keep it, you hold in silence, and then when the moment comes, when it truly matters, you apply like a blade at the perfect angle. This is not cruelty, this is strategy. To strike at someone's fear without them ever confessing it, to press against their hidden wound without them ever revealing it. This is a height of power, because they do not resist, they submit, and they do so internally, invisibly, silently, while you say nothing at all. Part 4. The Rejection of Guilt. Society trains you like a dog with guilt, whispering that you must obey the feelings of others. You must shrink your hunger for more. You must apologize for your ambition. You must soften your decisions to avoid hurting someone's comfort. But guilt is not morality. Guilt is programming. Guilt is a leash. And those who live in constant obedience to guilt will never taste power because they are too busy serving the comfort of those who would never bleed for them. The ruthless mind checks every guilty feeling with one question. Does this serve strategy? Or does this serve a leash? And when the leash is revealed, when guilt is seen for what it is, the ruthless mind does not obey. It does not waste time apologizing for being strong, for being ambitious, for being unwilling to be drained by others. And this is why it cannot be controlled, because the lever of guilt, the most common lever of manipulation, has no grip on it.